Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I very welcome my friends and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Hello and welcome back to Big Mouth. And you can keep this or any other conversation I ignite going over on my Twitter at MoviesTVMad, my Vero at BigMouth1, and the extension to this channel is my Instagram at BigMouth11289. And welcome to Friday's edition of the DCEU Extra. The DCEU Extra is a show for when I forget to mention stuff on the original awesome DCEU Daily. So there's two things I want to talk about. First of all, I want to talk about Nick McKinless, who played Ares in Justice League. Yes, he has a bit to say, and it isn't very flattering about Warner Brothers. He wants his money for playing Ares, and he hasn't been credited or given any money for this. I've got a quote from him. I think he posted it on Vero because I think he is on Vero. And I also want to talk about the tracking for Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation for one Harley Quinn. Mouthful, right? Yes, that's tracking now for 45 to 55 million. But I've got a theory on that, and I want to talk about Birds of Prey and a few other things about that film as well, because I have a friend who went to a test screening and she's told me all about the movie. She spoiled it for me, but I begged her to spoil it for me. Nobody's supposed to know she told me anything. You know how it is. Anyway, let's begin with Friday's edition of the DCEU Extra. Let's go. Right, so Nick McKinless played Ares and this in Justice League, and this is what he had to say. I'm still amazed that I'm being ignored by Warner Brothers and now Zack Snyder for my work as the real Ares in Justice League. Hollywood is known for bad behaviour. Yeah, you could say that, Nick. But not crediting me as Ares and giving another actor residual payments when he never appeared on screen is as bad as sorry, get my words out. Screen is about as bad as it gets. My contract says Ares. My whole face, body, and action is on screen. You can clearly see this in the photo below. So why credit a different actor? I was not a body double. I was not a stunt double. It was me on screen and no one else. Had my face been replaced, I would have expected dual credit at the very least. Instead, nothing. I have stayed quiet regarding this, but the latest spout of bullshit saying Foolish is Ares has really pissed me off. The real Ares hashtag in the Injustice League. Now, why has he mentioned Zack Snyder negatively here? Is because I think he was talking with some fans on Vero where he says that Nick is a body double, but it's actually the face of David Foolish. Yeah, very good actor. He was in Wonder Woman as the same character. Now, Nick is disputing this, that David Foolish actually wasn't involved at all, and you don't see him at all, and it's his body, it's his everything, it's his performance, and he should be getting paid for it. Now, obviously, Zack Snyder has said something different. I suppose here it's all about who you believe. I mean, to be honest, I've seen Justice League. Yes, I confess the Justice League quite a few times. I can't remember seeing David Foolish's face. I can just remember seeing a body, right? Now, it seems to me that what they've done here, they've classed him as a body double. Now, whether I don't know because the film was a flop if they're trying to cut corners with payments, but they can't legally do that. They can't. And if Nick's, being truthful and honest here, right, why doesn't he just take them to court? And I understand why he won't take legal action, because he probably won't work again. But honestly, Nick, you're causing problems. You're making waves already. It'll be hard for you to be cast again if people think you're a troublemaker. Now, I'm not saying that you are a troublemaker. The truth of the matter is, I don't know who's right and who's wrong. A lot of people will take Zack Snyder's side because he's Zack Snyder. And, if you're a Zack Snyder stan, you're not going to take the side of Nick McKinless. Now, it's difficult for me because, I'd love some comments below about this, because I am confused about this situation myself. Is he just a body double, or is he an actor playing a character? Now, We see stunt doubles all the time. We've seen stunt doubles using their, what should we say, bottoms instead of the real actor. It happened with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. That was not Kevin Costner's backside in that film. And I'm not an expert on Kevin Costner's backside. I don't even know why we had to see Kevin Costner's backside or anybody else's backside in that film. And I love Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, by the way. So this is a difficult one for me. You've got. Now the thing is with Nick, I think his job is normally as a body double, a stunt double, whatever it is. I don't really think he's an actor. So this is very interesting. This is my theory, and as I say, I don't really know what the facts are of this because the picture down below isn't there. I've just taken this from Chris Wong Svenson's tweet about this, and that's where I got the quotes right. So I'm not quite sure. I mean, as I say, we've all seen Justice League. We regret seeing Justice League, but we have. And look, it's interesting to me. I think that Nick is taking this opportunity with Release the Snyder Cut to try and get this money, cause trouble. Look, if he's been wronged here, and we know Hollywood's guilty of bad behaviour. They suck their performers, their artists, their stunt doubles, their directors. Everyone who works for them is a commodity, and they do not care about them. We know what Hollywood is. We know it's a bad organisation. We enjoy watching their product because they entertain us, but ultimately, we understand what the industry is. We're not dumb. But this isn't black and white. As I say, I don't know what to say. I'm not automatically going to say Zack wouldn't lie about this. Zack may believe that he's just a body double. Maybe he is a body double. But if Nick is genuinely telling the truth here, or let's just put it this way, let's be more liberal, let's be a bit more amicable with our words and say that whether Nick's mistaken or Zack's mistaken, I don't think either parties are trying it on here. But I think someone's got it wrong. Now, he's quoted his contract, which is interesting. But why doesn't he take a picture of his contract to show us? Then we can take his side and we can go to Zack on Vero very politely, very constructively and say, well, this is his contract, Zack. What do you make of this? But I have another theory about this as well. I think this situation proves that Zack is back in the Warner Brothers camp. This proves that he's negotiating for the Snyder Cut to be released. And this is why he's singing from their hymn sheet about Nick McKinley's role in Justice League. So that's interesting. Maybe if he is back in the Warner Bros. Camp, he doesn't want to rock the boat. Zack will do anything, and I mean anything, just like we will, within reason, to get the Snyder Cut released. Now, if he's having good dialogue with them, good negotiations, he's not going to start standing up for an actor who's not getting his residuals. I'm sorry, but I do feel bad. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure Nick McKinley isn't making a lot of money from the entertainment industry. He needs to eat. He worked hard on this. We know how many takes these people do. They have to wear all this gear. They have to do green screen stuff. Look, working on film or TV or anything is hard work, no matter what anyone says to you. It is a proper job. It's a repetitive job. And you start about 5 in the morning sometimes and you don't finish till 10 at night. So it's really hard work. I've been there. I've done it. I've been on sets, So, look, it isn't an easy life. It isn't about walking on red carpets and people telling you how they love you and stuff like that. I mean, hey, there is that to it if you're successful, but it is a hard job. So if Nick has been cheated here, I'm with Nick. But I'm sorry, Nick, I just don't know the facts. I don't understand. It's true. It's true. I didn't see David Thewlis's face on top of Ares' head in Justice League. I can't remember. I'm going to have to go back and watch it now just to see what the hell's going on there. So it is a really, really confusing situation, and I just hope that Warner Brothers, Nick and Zack can get together once they agree on the Snyder Cut being released and make sure that everyone's credited and getting the residuals that they deserve. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's talk about Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. It is tracking for 45 to 55 million. I think that's good money. I think that's amazing money for a February movie. But this is what I think. I think it's going to double up. I think it's going to get very close to 100 million, and I shall tell you why. This is nothing to do with Birds of Prey. This is about people loving Margot as Harley Quinn. They love her. One of the biggest reasons that Suicide Squad did so well at the box office is because of Margot's performance as Harley. There's no question about that. Now, forget all these people talking about, taking the sexuality away from Harley. In fact, if you see the animated stuff, a lot of the animated stuff, Harley isn't actually sexy. If you look at the new animated series on DC Universe, they've taken that element off that as well. She's more like a child. She's like a violent child, if you like. At the end of the day, right, I don't care about things like that, but I do care about DC, the DCEU, and I want all the projects to do well. And I think this movie will do really well. I think this movie will probably hit just under $1 billion globally when all is said and done. And I've been listening to excerpts of the Birds of Prey soundtrack, and it is absolutely brilliant. Only female performers, which is cool. It's an all-female movie. Why not? There's nothing wrong with that. And it's just really, pushing female artists, which is great. And let's be honest here, female artists don't have a hard job. In fact, I think female artists make more money in the music industry more than males do for many reasons I don't want to go into on a DCEU extra video. So it's one of the best vocal soundtracks I've ever heard. I'm not talking about a composed soundtrack because obviously we've got Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. They are two of the best soundtracks I've ever heard. Then you've got John Williams' original Star Wars as well, Superman the movie as well. But anyway, we're changing the subject. But this is one of the best vocal soundtracks I've ever heard in my life for any kind of movie, let alone a CBM. Now, I'm not a fan of vocal soundtracks. I'm more a fan of the composed music. I was very disappointed, really, when I tried to get kind of a Suicide Squad soundtrack of the composed music, and I couldn't get it anywhere. Not that there's a lot of that anyway, because it's more a vocal kind of musical piece anyway. But I will be honest, I've heard a lot of the tracks on this, and they are brilliant. So I expect, now, what I expect to be negative a little bit about this movie is the critical reaction. I don't expect critics to like this movie. And if they do, it's brilliant. But we know if you date back to Man of Steel, the critics were split. Batman v Superman, they hated it. Suicide Squad, they hated it. Wonder Woman, they absolutely loved it. Justice League is interesting with Justice League, actually. The critical response was split. Yes, I know. That was weird. Not everyone said they hated it. Aquaman had a lot of positivity. A few people like Collider called it a mess. I disagree with that. I was rewatching it in the UK while I was over there on Sky TV, and I just love it. I just love that movie. It's absolutely fantastic. I love the narrative of Arthur being this humble, ordinary guy who doesn't believe he's good enough to be a king, but taking the mantle and becoming more than a king, just like Mira says, not just a king, but a hero. Shazam, the critics absolutely adored Shazam. A great family movie for DC, the DCEU. Lots of Easter eggs for Batman v Superman and Man of Steel as well. And they all loved Joker. I know the SJWs didn't, but mostly critics loved Joker, especially Joaquin Phoenix's performance. But I think the critics may be a little bit split with Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. Yes, my friend has told me all about it. Her name's Ellie. I'm not telling you her last name. She went to a test screening for reasons. Yes, she loved the movie. She thought it was brilliant. She thought it was really exciting. Great performances. The other Birds of Prey characters, she told me a lot about them as well. Sorry about that. I talk too much. That's why I'm called Big Mouth, right? So she believed that a lot of people are worried that they're going to take the background. They certainly do not take the background. But this, as she told me, and as I already knew, it was obvious from the trailers, that this is a Harley Quinn vehicle. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Harley Quinn, played by Margot Robbie, is absolutely fantastic in this film as well. So I can't wait to see it for myself. So I think critics will be split over this movie, but there's nothing they can do to stop the DCEU success story continuing since Justice League. I'm talking about box office, I'm talking about fan reaction. It's been pretty quiet at the DCEU end of fan reaction. People have been pretty happy with Aquaman, Shazam, Joker, of course, and I expect that to continue. So are you excited for Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn? I certainly am, and the more I see of it, and the more I listen to the music, and my friend Ellie telling me about it, I'm very excited about it as well. And as for, is it Nick? I forgot his name already. What's his name? Nick McKinless, that's it. And what do you think of Nick McKinless? What do you think of the statement he's put out about Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers denying him his residuals? Are you on Nick's side? Are you dubious? Do you not know who to trust? I think that's pretty much where I am. And as I say, this does point to Zack being back at the WB camp and negotiating for the Snyder Cut and for his future as part of a director and a creative at the DCEU, at the Worlds of DC. I don't believe he will be running DC or running the films like he was before, but certainly I think there's potential for Zack to have a position as a creative on something. And what that will be very, very interesting. So please like, share and subscribe, share the video, share the channel, and I'll be back tomorrow with more DCEU Daily. And if I forget anything on that, I'll be back with even more DCEU Extra.